Hello, class, and hope you're doing well. We were ready to start week 4 and wanted to just give you some initial instructions as you're getting things going. I hope you'll start out by looking through the papers that you have received that have been graded. I hope you'll take time to consider the comments. If you have questions on that, please let me know. I would love to give you additional feedback if that is necessary. But want to make sure that you are thinking through some of the comments that I made and trying to ensure that those things are fixed for future assignments. And I think by doing that, you're going to find a lot of benefit in those notes, and hopefully, overall, they will help you be a better writer. Want to go ahead and draw your attention to things going on this week, and let's start by having our devotion. So far in our course, we have been looking at Matthew chapter 28, and we're going to continue there as we look at our devotion this week. We're going to look at just two words that I think are very familiar as we're considering the Great Commission, and yet they are words that I think are very important when we consider our call to discipleship and our call to do the work that God has provided for us in His church. It doesn't seem to be a very big statement when we just think about those words, go therefore. And yet, that phrase, those two words, have caused people to go to the ends of the earth to share the gospel. They go to share with people who have never heard. And so just these two words in this verse has given them instructions as to what they're doing. We're going to see in the coming weeks as we continue through this devotion. We're going to see how God gives us in this commission the things that we are supposed to be doing. But before we ever get there, we're to go therefore. If you think back to what we looked at last week, Jesus tells his disciples that they have all authority, or rather, he has all authority. It's all been given to him in heaven and on earth, and that's the power they can go in. And so after they hear this good news that Jesus has all the authority and all the power, then they're told you need to go and to make disciples, go into all nations, go and baptize the people, and just teach them all that that Christ has commanded. You know, we're going as disciples of Christ. We're going to people that are hurting. We're going to people that are in need. But the good news that we have is that Jesus has told us to go. And whenever we face difficulties and whenever we face hardships, we know that we have gone out as disciples, not in our own power and not in our own ability, but we have gone out with the message of Christ and in his power. And so I hope that you're encouraged as you remember that we are to go because he has the power. We're to go because he has the authority. And as we look next week, we'll see those things that we are supposed to do as we are going. Let's look at some of the things that are coming up for us this week. Remember your reading. I hope you'll try to take care of that early in the week. Your reading is very foundational for the things that we're going to be doing during the week, and so I hope you'll keep in mind what we have to do. We're going to read from Brandon Norman, chapter 4 this week, Melton, chapter 7 through 8, and then Welch, chapter 6. And so you'll want to complete those so that they'll help you to do the assignments. Your discussion board this week, you're going to take a position of agreement or disagreement with the section on developing a theology for financial management in the church. This is coming from the Welch book, and so you're going to want to focus very specifically on that section of the book and either agree with Welch or disagree, and then be prepared to defend your position. Your initial thread is due by Thursday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and your replies are due by 11:59 Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. And remember, as always, there is no credit for late discussion boards. Let's look at our main assignment this week, and it has to do with the church budget. And I want us to look at it very carefully because I know that sometimes it does give students a problem, but it's actually a fairly simple assignment if you'll take your time to work your way through it. From your required reading, you're going to critique an annual budget for your church based on its present context. You want to make sure that you actually critique an actual budget. It's very, very rare for a church not to have a budget. But if they don't, you're going to need to create one. But I would prefer, if at all possible, you provide the actual budget from your church. You're going to include it as a supplemental attachment to your assignment when you submit it at the end of the week. So make sure that you include that budget so that I can use it to reference what you're writing in your paper. Now, your critique needs to include these things: the source of your contributions, the categories of expense, average weekly offering required, average number of giving units, average weekly gift, a rough estimate or calculation based on your estimate. This should be about 1 page. So all of these things you need to include in the first page. If you look, none of these things are really a critique, but you're including them in your critique so that I can see that you've thought about the budget and thought about where it comes from. But in this first page here, I'm not actually doing any interaction with the budget as far as saying this is good or this is bad. You're simply stating the facts of where the money is coming from and including this other information. Now, as you move on, you're going to give an explanation. And you're going to do this as if you're getting up in front of your church and giving an explanation of the financial report. So you want to have an introduction. You want to explain how the budget was put together. You want to explain the major categories of the budget because a budget is not just a bunch of line items, but there are categories. If the budget doesn't have that, you're going to need to group it for the explanation. And then also major changes and fluctuations as you look over years past on the budget. Now, the paper must be 2 to 3 pages of related explanatory elements and must contain 2 to 3 scholarly references. So make sure that when you get to your bibliography, you don't just put one book. You need to have at least 2, if not 3, scholarly resources that you read when you're considering how to put together a budget. All right? You are going to remember to write and submit this as though you're giving this to a member who has little understanding of the budgetary process. You're wanting to help people along. How's the budget formulated? How did we put this together? What are we doing with it? When we read our sources, are we budgeting well? Are we making good priorities? These are the things you want to ask yourself as you're writing so that you could explain this to someone in your church who has no idea what is going on with the budget. So take your time on this. Again, it's just a short paper, but take time to go through and really point out good things in the budget, things that need to be improved, things that you think are helpful, things that are difficult for you to understand that a budget committee would need to clarify to most church members. Remember, as always, if you have questions, please do not stay stuck in one place or an assignment. Contact me and work on another assignment until I reply. I want you to have a good week. I want you to do well, but I want you to keep working if you're stuck somewhere because I know your time is very valuable. I hope that you have a blessed week. I hope that God will use you in a mighty way this week. And if you need anything, please contact me. Please let me know so that I can help you to continue on. You're doing well so far in the class. I expect that that's going to keep up. Let's see excellent work, and let's continue to honor God with all that we're doing in this class. Have a blessed week.